The Pittsburgh Steelers are bringing in a 35-year-old quarterback in Russell Wilson. And what does this mean for your team? What does this mean for the players on the roster currently heading into the 2024 season? And I can almost say in certainty that this spells the end of the Mason Rudolph era in Pittsburgh. Welcome back to Mike Drub Sports, everybody. I'm Jason. Let's talk about what this all is going to affect as they bring in Russell Wilson, a 35-year-old quarterback, a former 9-time Pro Bowler, has appeared in 2 Super Bowls, won one, lost one. A guy that is in year 13 of his NFL career. And what the Pittsburgh Steelers are thinking here. The Pittsburgh Steelers, in my eyes, are thinking, hey, let's bring in a guy that can get the job done, that could be a mentor for Kenny Pickett, a guy that has been to the mountaintop, a guy that has seen things throughout his NFL career, 13 years, and knows how to get the job done. Let's bring in Russell Wilson, and hopefully that rubs off on Kenny Pickett for 2025 or 2026. Whenever you plan to get Kenny Pickett underneath center as the starter again. But I can almost say you hear this word competition being thrown around, that the Pittsburgh Steelers are still interested in having a quarterback competition, and that this summer there's going to be an awesome competition in Latrobe between Russell Wilson. And I can almost say with certainty that won't happen, that Russell Wilson will be the starter for 2024. You don't bring in a guy like Russ to sit behind a guy like Kenny. It's just not the way things work. And we can almost say with certainty that Russell Wilson hopefully will be able to thrive a little bit in an Arthur Smith-style offense. They're not going to ask Russell Wilson to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game like a Sean Payton-type offense. Like what they were trying to just do with Russell and bring him out of what he does best, and that is play action, making plays with his legs. And that's what the Steelers are really geared toward. Russell Wilson had his best years when he was with Marshawn Lynch, had an excellent running game, wasn't expected to win the game with his arm all the time. That is when Russell is best, and I think that is partially another reason that sways Russell Wilson to be interested in the Pittsburgh Steelers and to sign this one-year deal to kind of prove it. The Denver Broncos picking up $38 million of this deal for 2024. So you have Russell Wilson that is going to be making about $40 million playing quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're only picking up $1.2 million of the tab. But what does this mean for the rest of the roster? You have some talented wide receivers in George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth at the tight end spot, a big Darnell Washington, a Connor Hayward, Calvin Austin III, a big speedster, and Russell Wilson still has a big arm. But you look at that tight end room and you might be concerned because Russell hasn't been very effective over the middle here recently. He's struggled in that area. So you wonder if the tight ends are still going to be in that same type of predicament. But we'll have to see how it plays out in Arthur Smith's offense. And then you have that running game that's going to be going to be required to really carry some of the load here and really carry this offense to set up that play action, set up those big plays. And even though Russell Wilson will be in place, they're not going to rely on him to win it with his arm. And that is just an obvious thing that's coming into play here. But they want a quarterback that has the experience, I think, of winning in the playoffs. A guy that knows what it's like to get to the big game, to not have those nerves, to not have to work through those jitters. They want a guy that's going to be able to get it done and get it done with experience and get it done with knowledge and leadership. And hopefully that's what Russell Wilson will be able to provide. But you hear about Russell being a distraction inside of the locker room. You hear all of those things. And you just wonder to yourself, is this going to be a good fit? Are the Pittsburgh Steelers built right now well enough to be able to handle a superstar and the media attention that a guy like Russell Wilson is going to bring? What does this mean for Deontay Johnson now? You hear the trade rumors swung around everywhere about Deontay Johnson. And you wonder to yourself, now that they bring in a guy like Russell Wilson, are they willing to separate with any of the weapons that they currently have? Are they just going to eat the $18 million and not worry about trading Deontay Johnson and just say, hey, it's a good investment. We have a guy like Deontay Johnson. We are very cheap in the quarterback room, which is going to pay big dividends for your Steelers. Very big dividends, guys. That is one of the best things. You're going to be able to put a roster around Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett. That is one of the better rosters in the NFL. Why? Because you're going to have the money to spend outside in free agency, and that's going to alleviate some issues whenever you're trying to draft players. You're going to be able to pick up some needs in free agency to lighten the load on your need in the draft to go out there and grab somebody specific at certain positions. So you're going to be able to play the game a little bit. You're going to be able to loosen up things a little bit on both sides, that free agency front and the draft. And you're going to be able to spend money where you think that it can matter the most to benefit a guy like Russell Wilson. Now you're going to build the roster to fit around a guy like Russell Wilson, a guy that still has some legs for being older, a guy that still has an arm. His arm hasn't diminished, a guy that really could play baseball professionally, so he was definitely a big arm type guy. So you see Russell Wilson now going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You see what this is gonna trickle down and have an effect all over this roster. We're starting to see it already. You're starting to see maybe some of the Deontay Johnson rumors, maybe they'll start to die down. But Kenny Pickett will be a backup in 2024. All these things now. Your picture is starting to become a little bit more clear for this 2024 team and how they're going to approach this summer and how this team is going to be built. We're starting to get more of the information here now. That the Steelers have taken care of the quarterback spot and they're going to go out in the draft, and I can almost guarantee you they go out and draft a young quarterback with a high upside in the mid to late rounds. I can almost say that with certainty. That gives them a broad spectrum of young, middle, and older quarterbacks in that room, and I think that could create a good dynamic, and hopefully Russell Wilson seizes that moment. But the tensions are going to be high probably between Kenny Pickett and Russell Wilson. Why? Because Kenny Pickett expects to be the starter, expects to get the chance, but he's had 25 games and the Steelers grew impatient, and the Steelers want to win now with some of the superstars they have, and I feel that this is a good move in that aspect. The Steelers are trying to get some of these older guys that are on the roster that are aging out, maybe a chance at winning a championship, and that shows a little bit of loyalty to those guys too. I'm not saying Russell Wilson will get anybody there because I don't agree with the signing. I don't like getting older at the quarterback position. I don't think that it's the best thing to do. Everybody isn't Tom Brady that's going to come in and be able to provide that and go chase a championship right away and make a team instantly that much better. I don't know if Russ is that guy. We'll see because he's going to get that chance. But I just don't agree with the Russell Wilson signing in that way. The age, that's what really gets me. The age and how that he's aging out here. He's 35 years old, 9-time Pro Bowler, we get all that, but he's 35 years old. He's almost to 40. I don't like getting older. That's just my opinion. I do like it in the aspect that the Pittsburgh Steelers signed him for cheap and that this quarterback room is going to be super cheap. That's the big thing. But you have to remember you only have him signed to 1 year. So what if Russell Wilson goes out there and blows up? Then you got to pay the guy. But that's a bridge you'll have to cross down the road. So they're taking a chance. They're taking a gamble. They have bought a lottery ticket for $1.2 million, guys. It's exactly what they did here with the signing of Russell Wilson. I told you on the live show, and I never wanted to spit the information out there, but I did hear that Russell Wilson's representation, this was about a month ago, that his representation was looking for places in Pittsburgh. And I just said that. I heard that. Now, I didn't know if it was true, but it really does seem that it might have been true. So maybe Russell had this in his head, a month ago when the season was just, wrapping up, the Super Bowl was wrapping up, that Russell Wilson had in his head, hey, I want to go to this roster in Pittsburgh. They seem to have the pieces in place that could guarantee me at least to be competitive. But he comes into a wicked AFC North with big name teams, with quarterbacks that are in the spotlight, that are being paid, but you have Russell Wilson coming into that division. Is he going to be able to compete at 35 with those young guns, with those young gunslingers? That's the question there too. You're not coming into a division like some of the NFC divisions to where there's teams making it to be division winners with shitty records, barely over 500. That's not going to happen in the AFC North. You're going to have to be good. And is Russell Wilson that guy that's going to get you to be good? That's another question, guys. That is another question. I will say this about Russell Wilson. I love the little thing that he did post on Twitter. And that was the Renegade song. And it just was all black. And then it was like boom, 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 boom. And then boom, it popped up with the Renegade thing. He went right to the defense. It wasn't even anything about the offense. And then it boom, just moved up. And then at the end, it had the Steelers logo. That was really cool, Russ. I'll say that. I'll give him that one. But we have to get behind this guy now. I don't agree with it. I don't think it was the greatest signing in the world. I think it was good on the terms of financials. That's fine, but I don't think that that's what we should always be looking at. But I do think we should get behind this guy because he's going to be the starter in 2024. So, yes, we can bash him, we can critique him, but we have to get behind him, and we can't go out there the minute he steps on the field and boo him and all that shit. We can't do that. We have to be able to, get behind this guy, rally, allow Kenny Pickett maybe the chance to learn behind somebody that's done it at a high level. That may be the saving grace for Kenny Pickett to be able to do that. That might just be the best thing that ever happened to Kenny. And Kenny has to not be ignorant. Has to not be a hothead in this situation. I think he needs to really take this time and learn something and really watch Russell Wilson and his preparation and how to be a real pro that has been to that high level of NFL football. That's what Kenny Pickett needs to seize this opportunity. So he can't be an asshole, can't be disgruntled. And if you want to sit there and say Kenny should request a trade or whatever, okay. But you're not going to get nothing for him if you're the Steelers, so it would be a moot point to even think about doing that. You wasted a 20th overall pick if you were to trade Kenny Pickett right now. He has no trade value. He has performed very, very, very subpar. You can't trade Kenny Pickett and expect to get any type of return. So that would just be out of the question. So Kenny Pickett could talk about a trade all he wants, and I would just bury him on the depth chart if that's the case. If he wants to not be a good teammate, I'd make him third. And whoever you get as that third string backup, elevate him to number 2 and allow Russell Wilson to be the starter if you're the Steelers. Don't put up with any of that bullshit because it'll destroy the team dynamic immediately. But let's get to the big one. This almost spells certain end for Mason Rudolph, guys. He will not return to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're hearing it now, right here on Mike Drop Sports. I can say it with confidence. I highly, highly doubt that Mason Rudolph comes back and makes a return to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we've seen it last year where he did come back as the third string guy. But man, that would be really tough for Mason to swallow his pride after the performance that he had at the end of last season. And come back and know that he is going to be the number 3 without a doubt. Yet again, getting buried on that depth chart. We'll see. Maybe there is no market for Mason Rudolph, and maybe the Steelers say, "Hey Mason, $2 million a year. Come back. We'll bring you back as the third." And then I gotta honestly admit, I think if you had all 3 of those guys in that quarterback room, adding Mason to it, I think you would have a damn good room. I really do. I think it would be a solid room. I would like that room. But I highly doubt that Mason Rudolph would want to entertain that, knowing that the Pittsburgh Steelers have no plans on letting him be the starter in 2024. And he has no real path to be in a competition with those guys to gain that starting job. So I can almost say with certainty that the Mason Rudolph era has ended in Pittsburgh. You won't see him again. But now adding a 13-year NFL veteran to that quarterback room, now you have Kenny Pickett and Russell Wilson. I think you have hopefully a good variety on the cheap and guys that have experience, guys that are learning, young guys. I just think it could be a good dynamic inside of there. But I really, really fear that the Russell Wilson signing isn't going to be what the Pittsburgh Steelers had hoped for. I feel like there is a real reason teams are paying $110, $111 million for Russell not to be on the roster any longer. The only saving grace is that you're bringing Russell Wilson in to play a style of football that he was most successful at in his career. You're putting a roster around Russell Wilson that could create a good dynamic in terms of a good run game, a good defense. Those things to be able to uplift Russell to make him not have to carry the team on his shoulders all the time. But man, I'm not totally sold yet on Russell Wilson. We're going to have to see how this all plays out. And yes, the Steelers made a great move financially. They really took advantage of another team paying his salary and really added, a quality veteran. We'll say that. But does Russell Wilson still have it at 35 years old? Does Russell Wilson still have the want to win, the want to compete? The only thing that this shows me, Russell Wilson coming in, because he could have sat out and made $38 million this year, hands down. Does him coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers show you that he still has that competitive fire? Does it show you that Russell Wilson is still trying to go and chase a Lombardi trophy? Because he's coming back to play when he doesn't have to. He could sit at home with his family doing nothing, making $38 million and do absolutely nothing for it. But he's coming back instead to play the game of football at the highest level. So maybe that should show us something also. Maybe that should give us a little insight also on what Russell Wilson's mindset is right now. He may be coming in and his only thought is to win and get a team to a championship, to end his career in that kind of way. Maybe that's what he's aiming for. Maybe that's what he's looking for with this 1-year deal. So we'll see. We'll see how the contract is structured. I told you all what would happen. I said if Russell Wilson is going to be a Steeler, it would happen before the end of the weekend. And boy, we made it right down to the wire, and it did. It did. It really happened right there at the end, right at the final hour of the weekend. But Russell Wilson, ahead of NFL free agency this week, is going to sign once he is legally allowed to with the league and become the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback for the 2024 season. There's no doubt about it. So the Steelers have really flipped their script here, bringing in Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator, changing up the passing game coordinator stuff, changing up the wide receiver room coach, changing up many, many things within that building and that offensive side of the football. So they are really going all in here and really trying to make this 2024 season a lot more special on offense than it was in 2023 and really give this team a boost and hopefully apply something on that offensive side that resembles somewhat a winning football. So we'll see how this goes, and it's showing the Steelers are really attempting to really try to get this thing done. So we have to give them credit there, guys. This wasn't just some haphazard signing. I don't think so. I think they saw the deal was good. They could get it on the cheap. They could keep the quarterback room cheap, continue to build the roster. They have faith in Kenny Pickett, supposedly, so they know he's there, but yet they get a veteran like Russell Wilson. Maybe that's just what they're thinking. And they're thinking, let's go out here and try to get one of these young kids late in the draft that, could possibly step up and be that dude, be that high ceiling type player. Maybe that's what happens. Maybe you get a Spencer Rattler in 3rd or 4th round. Maybe you go out and get one of these young guys, a Milton, something like that. Maybe that's what you do. But if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, one thing that this Russell Wilson deal is going to do for you is give you options. And what do you need as a team moving into free agency in the draft? A team that's looking to start competing at a high level is what? Options. You need options. You can't have narrow paths. You need to broaden your picture a little bit. You just can't have, hey, we have to get this done. We have to do it here. No, you have options, and you can build your team in particular ways to offset some of your deficiencies, and you're going to have options in order to fill those holes and needs. So that's exactly what you're looking for. And maybe guys are going to want to come play with Russell. We'll see. We'll see how this all plays out. But we will talk more tonight on our live show at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Mike Drub Sports as we explore the Russell Wilson deal and what it means for the Steelers. And we're going to get your thoughts, your commentary on it, and what you're thinking this is going to do for the Steelers. Also, we're going to talk about the Deontay Johnson trade rumor rumors. We're going to talk about everything and really try to break this roster down ahead of free agency and what this is all going to mean for your Pittsburgh Steelers heading into the 2024 season. So this is big week, a big week. This is going to be a lot of content, a lot of news. So this is just the kick started. I know people had posted the Russell Wilson signing earlier, but I heard it last night, but I just didn't want to comment just yet. I didn't care about being the first one. That's stupid. I don't care about that kind of stuff. So we're going to just continue to talk about it throughout the week, continue to break this down, and we're going to get what you guys think on it. And we're really going to let you guys sound off tonight and let you guys really talk about what you think this is going to mean for the Pittsburgh Steelers and not just hear what I have to say. So we'll give you that opportunity tonight here on Steel City Live at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So don't forget that, guys. Make sure you hit this like button. It was a long video, but I was just kind of getting it all out, man. So we'll have a longer show tonight, probably about 80 minutes or so. So we'll get it for sure all out of our system. But this is free agency week, so this is going to be long content, long hours, man. This week, this is going to be a fun week to be a NFL fan, a Steelers fan in general. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it all works out. So, all right, guys, I'll quit rambling. But until next time, I'm Jason. This is Mike Drop Sports. Peace.